It was the late 1980s, a time when the world was gripped by uncertainty and the Cold War still cast its long shadow over global affairs. Tensions in the Middle East were sky-high, with every nation on edge and military forces constantly on alert. The Iran-Iraq war raged on relentlessly, turning the skies above Iran into a deadly battleground where danger lurked for any aircraft that dared to enter. On one fateful day, an American F-15 pilot was shot down deep in Iranian territory, far from any friendly support or safe haven. The world held its breath as news of the downed pilot spread, with families, military officials, and ordinary citizens glued to their televisions, hoping for a miracle. The pilot ejected safely, but he was now stranded, alone and vulnerable, surrounded by hostile forces in a harsh and unforgiving landscape. Iran's military was hunting for him, deploying search parties and scouring the desert. Time was running out, and every minute increased the risk of capture. The U.S. Air Force faced a gut-wrenching decision. Should they leave the pilot behind, risking his life and morale, or launch a daring rescue mission deep into enemy territory, risking an international incident? For the men and women of the Air Force, there was never any doubt. They would go in, no matter the danger, driven by loyalty and the unbreakable bond between pilots. Bringing their fellow pilot home was not just a duty, it was a solemn promise, a testament to the brotherhood and trust that defined their service. The plan would need to be flawless. Every detail had to be considered, every risk weighed. Failure would mean certain capture, or worse, for their friend. The stakes could not have been higher. The tension in the command center was palpable, as everyone understood what was at risk. If the Iranians found the pilot first, it could spark a much larger conflict, drawing in other nations and escalating the already volatile situation. The world was watching, waiting to see what would happen next. The rescue had to happen fast, and it had to be silent. Stealth and speed were their only allies in the darkness of the desert night. Every second counted, every move mattered. The margin for error was razor thin, and the lives of everyone involved hung in the balance. So, the stage was set. A daring mission would soon unfold, a mission so bold and dangerous that few would believe it possible unless they saw it with their own eyes. The world waited, holding its breath, as heroes prepared to make history. At the heart of this daring mission were brave men and women, each one prepared to risk everything for their comrades and their country. Their courage and determination would soon be put to the ultimate test. The downed pilot, Captain Mark Eagle Johnson, was a seasoned aviator with nerves of steel. He had flown countless combat missions, always returning home safely. But now, stranded deep in hostile territory, he was alone, hiding among the rocks and sand, clutching his survival radio, and hoping for a miracle. Every moment was a test of his training, resourcefulness, and will to survive. He knew that staying hidden and calm was his only chance until help arrived. The rescue team assembled to save him was made up of some of the best in the world, highly trained, highly motivated, and ready for anything. Each member brought unique skills and experience to the table, forming a unit that was greater than the sum of its parts. Leading the air cover was Major Tom Blaze Harris, the lead F-15 pilot. Calm under pressure and known for his lightning-fast reflexes, Blaze was a natural leader. He had a reputation for making split-second decisions that saved lives, and his team trusted him completely. Flying alongside him was Captain Sarah "Falcon" Reed, the only female pilot on the team. Sharp, determined, and utterly fearless, Falcon had earned her place through sheer skill and relentless dedication. She was ready to fly cover, engage the enemy, and do whatever it took to bring their fellow pilot home. The real lifeline, though, was the crew of a specially equipped rescue helicopter, a Pavehawk, designed for missions just like this. Their job was to fly into danger, land under fire if necessary, and extract the downed pilot against all odds. Sergeant Dave "Doc" Morales led the para-rescue jumpers, or PJs. These elite medics were trained to go behind enemy lines, provide life-saving care, and bring their fellow airmen home. Each PJ knew the risks, but for them, saving a life was worth any danger. Their motto, that others may live. Together, these heroes formed a tight-knit team, bound by trust, loyalty, and a shared sense of duty. Their teamwork and unbreakable spirit would be their greatest weapons as they prepared to face whatever challenges awaited them in the hostile skies and unforgiving terrain of Iran. Flying into Iran was no simple task. Every second in the air brought new dangers, and the stakes could not have been higher. Enemy radars watched the skies, searching relentlessly for any sign of intruders. The Iranian air defense network was among the most sophisticated in the region, and it was always on high alert. Anti-aircraft guns and missiles waited, ready to strike at a moment's notice. A single blip on their screens could unleash a deadly barrage. The rescue team knew that being seen meant disaster. Stealth was their only hope. Every movement had to be calculated, every light dimmed, every radio transmission kept to a whisper. They would fly low, hugging the ground, hoping to stay invisible to the enemy's watchful eyes. The pilots skimmed just above the desert floor, using the terrain as cover. But that was not all. The landscape itself was a threat. The Iranian desert was unforgiving, with endless stretches of sand and rock that could disorient even the most experienced crews. Jagged mountains cut across the land, making flying at night even more dangerous. One wrong turn could send the aircraft into a wall of stone. Dust storms could rise without warning, blinding pilots and choking engines. Visibility could drop to 0 in seconds, turning the mission into a fight for survival. There would be no mercy from the weather. Thunderstorms, high winds, and sudden temperature drops could all strike without warning, adding to the chaos. Nighttime brought its own dangers. Flying in the dark, the pilots relied on their instruments, trusting technology and training to guide them through the blackness. One wrong move could send them crashing into a mountain, or worse, into enemy hands. Every second demanded total focus and nerves of steel. The tension was thick. Every sound, every shadow, could mean an ambush. The crew's senses were on high alert, hearts pounding as they pressed forward. Despite all this, the rescue team pressed on. They knew the risks, but their mission was clear. Find Captain Johnson and bring him home. Failure was not an option, and their courage would be tested at every turn. The rescue plan was bold and simple. First, the F-15s would fly ahead, scouting for threats. They would jam enemy radars and clear a path. Next, the rescue helicopter would slip in low, following the F-15's lead. Timing was everything. The team had to reach Johnson before sunrise. To avoid detection, the pilots studied maps and weather reports. They picked a route over the wildest terrain, mountains and valleys that would hide them from enemy eyes. Every second was planned. If they were spotted, the whole mission would be called off. Communications were kept to a minimum. Code words and hand signals replaced radios, which could be tracked. The team drilled every step, rehearsing until they could do it in their sleep. Each member had a job. Each knew the risks. It was a high-wire act. One mistake could cost lives. But the team had faith in each other, and in their training. At midnight, the engines roared to life. The team was ready. The F-15s led the way, slicing through the night sky. Below, the helicopter hugged the ground, flying under the radar. Every pilot was tense, eyes locked on their instruments. Silence filled the cockpits, broken only by the occasional check-in. Crossing into Iran, the team's hearts pounded. Enemy radar blips appeared and vanished on their screens. Every mile brought fresh danger. The F-15 pilots scanned for threats, ready to react in an instant. At one point, a missile battery lit up in the distance. The team held their breath and changed course just in time. Soon, they reached the area where Captain Johnson had gone down. The helicopter circled low, searching for a signal. Time was running out. Iranian patrols were moving closer. The rescue team had only minutes to act. This was the moment of truth. Every second mattered. The mission hung by a thread. Suddenly, a faint signal crackled through the static. It was Captain Johnson. Using his survival radio, he marked his location. The helicopter moved in fast, dodging rocks and trees. The team spotted a small flare, Johnson's last hope, as the helicopter touched down. Sergeant Morales and his team jumped out. They raced across the ground, guns ready. Iranian troops were just minutes away. Johnson limped toward them, waving with relief. But danger was closing in from all sides. The pararescue team grabbed Johnson and ran back to the helicopter. Bullets started flying. The pilot shouted for everyone to get in. Morales dragged Johnson aboard just as the doors slammed shut. The helicopter lifted off, engines screaming. The team was not safe yet. The escape would be even harder than the rescue. With Johnson aboard, the helicopter turned south, racing for the border. Iranian soldiers fired from below, and searchlights swept the sky. The chopper weaved and darted, dodging gunfire. In the cockpit, the pilot called for air support. The F-15s dove in, unleashing flares to confuse enemy missiles. For a moment it looked hopeless. An enemy jet appeared on radar, closing in fast. Captain Reed, flying cover, made a split-second decision. She turned toward the threat, ready to fight. The enemy jet backed off, fooled by the aggressive move. The helicopter pushed its engines to the limit. Fuel was running low. Mountains loomed ahead, forcing a risky climb. The team braced for the worst, but the pilots kept their cool. Every muscle was tense. Every second felt like an hour. Finally, the border appeared. The team crossed into friendly skies. Relief washed over them. They had made it out alive. Throughout the mission, bravery shone bright. Captain Johnson stayed calm, using his training to survive alone. Sergeant Morales risked his life, running through gunfire to save a brother. Major Harris and Captain Reed made split-second choices, outsmarting the enemy at every turn. The team's clever planning paid off. They used the terrain, the weather, and their wits to stay hidden. When things went wrong, they adapted. No one panicked. Everyone did their part, no matter how tough. The mission was a test of nerves and skill. It showed what real teamwork looks like. Every member trusted each other with their lives. In the chaos, they never lost hope. Their courage saved a life and showed the world what heroes are made of. The rescue made headlines around the world. Captain Johnson returned home a hero thanks to his brave teammates. The mission was studied in schools and military academies. It became a legend, a story of courage, skill, and never leaving a comrade behind. For those who flew that night, life would never be the same. They were honored with medals, but more importantly, with the respect of their peers. Their story inspired new generations of pilots and rescuers. Even today, the mission is remembered as one of the boldest rescues in Air Force history. It showed the power of teamwork, bravery, and a promise kept under fire. The wild F-15 rescue over Iran is proof that sometimes the impossible can be done. That night in Iran will never be forgotten. It stands as a true story of survival, grit, and the unbreakable bond between warriors.